I'm Annie Carpenter, an artist, lecturer in fine art at Leeds Beckett University and a practice-based PhD candidate at Northumbria University, working within the Cultural Negotiation of Science Research Group. The title of this presentation is Paralab, a para-academy for cross-disciplinary exchange and learning. I will begin by giving some background, introducing you to Paralab, the organisation that I co-direct. I will then go on to discuss a key method that we use to foster cross-disciplinary knowledge making, that of excursions. To frame this discussion, I will use 2 excursions that I have curated, acting as case studies to explore key themes within my research. Alongside, I will share sections of the films that have been the major practice outcomes. So, for background, Paralab is an organisation that I set up in 2018 alongside Andrew Wilson, who has a long history of setting up grassroots projects which encourage cooperation between practitioners with different kinds of knowledge. Paralab experiments with ways to facilitate collaborations between artists and scientists, aiming to challenge some of the unhelpful binary dynamics that have historically characterised such cross-disciplinary exchanges. We have a large, ever-shifting group of participants who comprise mainly of mid-career Manchester-based artists and a wide disciplinary array of senior science academics based at Manchester University. A key theoretical foundation of Paralab is the concept of para-academia, as outlined by Suhail Malik in Art Education and the Predicament of Professionalised Criticality. Malik describes para-academic initiatives as alternative educational platforms, such as reading groups and symposia, that operate outside traditional university structures. Paralab functions in this capacity by circumventing institutional approaches and structures, challenging academic capitalism and ref-defined timescales, allowing us to enable projects that do not neatly fit within formal academic frameworks and which disrupt clearly defined disciplinary boundaries. Para-academies can take up the public mission of the modern university to produce research in alternative terms and formats. Paralab uses collaboration as an important educational tool, allowing participants to learn and grow using methods which would not be possible within higher education as it stands. While alternative art schools provide comparable models, Paralab also extends beyond the institution of contemporary art, existing in a space that runs parallel to both the art world and academia, inside, outside, and alongside the institution. This model allows Paralab to foster long-term, open-ended collaborative projects. Unlike many initiatives, where artists are invited to spend fixed periods working with and responding to the research of scientists, Paralab uses the principle of slow science, as articulated by philosopher Isabel Stengers in Another Science is Possible, a manifesto for slow science. Stengers calls for a shift away from rapid, outcome-driven research towards a more reflective and ethical knowledge production. By fostering a community of demanding connoisseurs, interested but non-institutionally embedded individuals, Paralab holds scientists accountable to the task of taking care, using collective inquiry to disrupt problematic cultures in academia. So I'm now going to talk about the excursionist method. The main focus of my PhD project is using the excursionist method to set up the conditions for meaningful exchange between artists and scientists, removing participants from their siloed institutions and taking them into rural locations in the north of England. With this in mind, I have curated a number of excursions for the Paralab participants. These are shared experiences which take place outdoors without any expected outcome or results in a quantifiable sense. Excursion is my chosen term for the Paralab fieldwork activity I curate, connoting activity on the boundary of work and leisure. This approach is reinforced by the inclusion of participants' partners, children and friends. Excursions are a form of wayfaring, which, according to anthropologist Tim Ingold, is the process of venturing outside established academic habitats to explore wilder paths and inhabit the earth differently. Excursions are not about going somewhere to study someone or something, but rather the very process of moving and being moved. So the first excursion I'm going to introduce you to is called Artists and Scientists in the Woods. In June 2023, I facilitated the excursion Artists and Scientists in the Woods, for which I gathered 21 participants, including artists, scientists and their families, for 24 hours in a secluded woodland in West Yorkshire. Supported by research seed funding from Leeds Beckett University and in collaboration with the Forest School, Be More Outdoors, the excursion was focused on the experience of living off-grid, providing a platform for me to test new methods of recording, reflecting on and sharing my practice-based research. The excursion was theoretically centred on Tim Ingold's notion of correspondence. Ingold uses the term to describe the act of paying deep attention and claims that through participating with the world and not attempting to explain or interpret it, correspondence can be transformative for all involved. As with Isabel Stengers, Ingold calls for a new approach to doing science in response to its commodification. Through correspondence, according to Ingold, scientists are able to join artists in finding ways of working that create a wisdom born from imagination and experience, creating a science grounded in wonder and gratitude. For the design of the excursion to the woods, I worked with the idea of correspondence on varying levels, through the way the group interacted with the natural world, the way participants interacted with each other, and the way I approached the position of researcher. To clarify and extend the idea of correspondence, I borrowed methods from psychological research into the feeling of awe. According to psychologist Dacher Kelter, awe is the feeling we get when we encounter vast mysteries that challenge our understanding of the world. Awe can diminish the sense of self, promoting cooperation in social groups. It can also alter perceptions of duration, leading to a greater willingness to donate time. The awe experienced in nature, which Kelter coins wild awe, is where my focus lay for Artists and Scientists in the Woods, with the aim to set up a situation where participants encounter psychologically vast, yet everyday scale, natural wonders, with the ability to transcend their understanding of the world. The simple act of paying attention while in nature can have a big impact on individual mindsets and group dynamics. With this in mind, the design of the excursion aimed to embed the participants in nature and set up the conditions where they might become hyper-attuned to their surroundings, thereby experiencing the psychological state of wild awe. To this end, our location, the trees, sounds, smells, weather, was a key participant in the event, as we worked, cooked, and slept out in the open. The second excursion I'm going to introduce you to is called Terroir Rising the Forest. I recently began a collaboration with interdisciplinary scholar Martin Grunfeld, based at the University of Copenhagen. He has recently been exploring the idea of terroir, which is a term most commonly used in winemaking to describe the complete natural environment in which a particular wine is produced. The term was recontextualised in Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach trilogy to signify a deep connectivity between place, things, bodies and ecosystem that defies language and distanced scientific methodologies. As part of our collaboration, Martin provided me with sensory exercises to deliver to the participants of this latest excursion, which took place this July at Middlewood Trust in Lancashire. Middlewood is a charity that operates from the semi-ancient secluded woodland of the valley of Roe-Burndale. The valley is one of the last remnants of temperate rainforest, which would have once dominated much of the UK. The mild, humid and rainy conditions there create a microclimate where hundreds of species of moss and liverworts thrive on sessile oak, hazel and ash trees, and vicious horseflies seek out the occasional soggy human visitor to the site. The footage from these exercises and other activities from the weekend form the basis for the film Terrorising the Forest, which you can see parts of now. Like much creative practice-based research, the notion of terroir in winemaking has been undervalued due to the struggle for all that encompasses the terroir to be evaluated by the procedures of science. Terroir, instead, involves a relational way of knowing at the intersections of territory, craft knowledge, multisensory aesthetics, and multi-species relationships. Terrorising the forest set up the conditions to cultivate this form of relational knowing, inviting participants to a shared location to generate unconventional, slow, and uncertain knowing spaces.
I want you to document your something using video on your phone. I'm thinking we're going to create like a video together. Yeah. And then I want you to take some footage with a human interacting with the something.
Trees were bold and ground wasn't invented. We lived in the forest of the Bowland and thought of things about landscape.
What is comforting in uncertain zones? How is distance bolstering proximity weakness? Why are you separating yourself from us? At first contact, don't separate, mutate.
In conclusion, the Paralab excursions operate at the edges of academia, where participants are moved out of their comfort zones and collective activities cultivate a common ground beyond disciplinary and professional hierarchies. To go to the woods is to move outside standard modes of knowledge production, tables, chairs, offices, laboratories, art studios, Zoom meetings, etc., with their goal-orientated and contained exploration, and instead embracing an open-ended knowledge generation through the unexpected and the unfamiliar. The durational nature of the excursions means that participants are forced to negotiate eating and sleeping, as well as everyday domestic tasks such as cooking and washing up. The intended results of this are a deep feeling of connectedness to the site of the excursion and to each other, in a sense beyond the professional, either artistic or scientific. As I move through my PhD, I have to grapple with language to accurately describe this collaborative inquiry, tinkering with the terms cross-disciplinary or transdisciplinary, but perhaps this mode of collective knowing can be best described as indisciplinaire, to borrow a term from Jacques Rancière. An indisciplinary approach encompasses Donna Haraway's situated knowledges, implying an exchange that not only ignores disciplinary hierarchies, but also challenges our identities as researchers, artists, and families. Thank you.